Hello and welcome to Love Angels Light. Tonight I have Leon Beaton creating a mind shift for change. Hello, Leon.
Hello, Eleanor. Great to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I look forward to this experience.
I'm very excited to have you. From our chats, you are one of the more interesting people I have spoken to in a very long time.
God, I hope I satisfy the curiosity that you've put out there. You put the pressure on, but I hope I'll do my best to satisfy what you've shared.
No pressure. No pressure.
Let's just
Hello, Gemmas. Yes. All right. So can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Okay. That's a brief one. Firstly, if I really go back, I was born on a farm over in the Western District. Born on a farm, which meant you learnt, I call the basics of life, the seasons, all those things were important. I then went to boarding school, which was an interesting experience because then I lost connection with my father in one respect. Went to Melbourne, worked for 3 years, and realised that wasn't where I was supposed to go. And then the synchronicity of events allowed me to become a teacher. And then for the next 33 years, which I think is interesting, that number, I became a teacher, teaching secondary school and lots of different subjects. But the thing that underpinned that was I was all about getting my students to think for themselves, to empower them that they had a gift and a talent that even though they didn't think they did, because I was working with the kids that struggled, that there was something special about them. So I was helping them to tap into their own gifts that they've got. In 2012, which I'll tell you that story later on, is when I left. I left 2012 to do the work that I'm now doing and seeing how that's unfolded between now and up to here. Before that, in 2003 or 2006, I went through my divorce, and that was a whole beginning of a whole new chapter. So that's just a very brief outline of who I am. The work that I do now is a lot of life coaching, mentoring, coaching and depends on who you're talking to, whether you're talking from a soul's perspective, and depends who the person is, the language that you use. Also working with men, sound healing. There's many, many different hats that I wear. So I don't really get into explaining heaps. It depends where the person's at.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. We've got lots and lots of hellos. Hello, Daryl. Hello, Marianne. Hello, Kerry. Hello, Kerry. Hello, Jim. There are two Kerrys. Do you get to see the comments?
No.
They're just there. So tell me what happened in 2012.
2012, that's an interesting year because I've always said synchronicity of events occur in your life. And as long as you're able to have an awareness and see them and then act on direction. What happened is one of my students said to me, you should write a book about what you teach. Now, the fact that I failed English in year 12, I had that program running in my head that I could never write a book. So what happened? That was the first thing. Secondly, you've got to remember that I thought I'd go through to 65, top up my super. I had no intention of leaving teaching because I loved it and I was good at it, according to my students. The next thing is there was a teacher's aide, and I don't like calling her that because to me she was much more than that. She was in my classroom and she said to me one day, what you teach, you need to share with the rest of the world. That was the third thing. And then the last experience is my boss came along at the time, and I've been asking her to come along for a long time. She was very much the administration boss. Now that camp, just didn't go the way I wanted to. But on a soul level, she was playing a role on a soul level because I was extremely upset. And my teacher's aide said to me, she said, I think this is a very clear sign that you're to leave teaching, and which is what I expressed to her. So the next 6 months, I agonized whether to leave or not. And this is the thing, that I had no judgment on the events that occurred because I could see it from the higher perspective of my soul. So after 6 months of agonizing over this, I went to my boss and I said to him, can I have 6 months off long service leave? The interesting part, he looked at me and he said, will you take 12? Now, I didn't answer. My body answered. It just spontaneously said yes. And it was like I think to myself, where the hell did that come from? So that was 2012. Also in 2011, 2012, which would be the January, I went on a cruise. Now on that cruise, the idea of writing the book, I'd already started it, but I'd probably procrastinating with it. I went on a cruise with Wayne Dyer. Now, those who are aware of Wayne Dyer is an amazing man that I have a high respect for, who's now since passed away. And also there's a program called Write, Speak and Promote, which is about writing a book. And I ended up being in a room with another guy called Wayne. Now, I had no idea who I'd be with, but this man, I called him was a messenger from God, because every morning and every night we would talk. And he spoke on such a level that he was my own personal coach, which I loved. And one of the things he said to me on that one of those nights, he said to me, "Get that book out. They are waiting for you to get it out." And I remember saying to him, I felt Valda, who's an ex-nun, was a beautiful, beautiful woman. She was, I call, a mentor of mine all through my life, and she'd since passed away. And she said, I said to Wayne, I said, I felt that she helped me write the book. And she said, she did. She's standing right behind you now. So all these synchronicity of events enabled that next chapter of my life to occur. So 2012, I ended up taking long service leave for 2013.
Awesome. Your 2012 was my 2018, it turns out. My 2018, I walked into my principal at the time and said, I need to take 12 months leave without pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just know, that's the thing, you just know intuitively that this is what you've got to do. And, yes. The strange part about 2013 is that I thought I'd be running programs for new teachers. One, I had the capacity to do it. Two, that was a need for it. And a number of my students were becoming teachers and said, yep, we want this information. But no school would buy it. So I'd spent almost 9 months preparing all this information and putting out. So to me, Spirit wasn't going to take me down that direction. That wasn't what I was to do. The ironical part is that when I launched that program in September, no teacher turned up, but 16 of my students turned up. And I thought there's a very clear message in that, which was working with the younger people. You're talking 18 to 25, that bracket. And in hindsight, that's exactly what happened the following year. Because at the end of 2013, I went to pick up the phone to ask for emergency teaching and my body wouldn't let me. So I finally did pick it up and then resigned straight away. And then 2013 was the next challenge.
That's amazing. That's amazing. All right. So tell me about your book.
The first book I wrote was called Desire, Connecting to Your Divine Inspiration. And it's interesting, the tagline, Connecting to Your Divine Inspiration. So many people said, oh, you can't put that on it. It's too spiritual. But in hindsight, I mean, I'm so pleased I stuck to my guns. But how that came about, again, was an interesting story. In one context, I was sitting at home during the school holidays in July, and something said to me, go to the lake in Ballarat. So I went around the lake, beautiful sunny day, which is strange for Ballarat, and picked up a piece of paper and the word desire just popped out. D for desire, what do you want? E for energy, S for success, I for intuition, R for result, and E finally, which is evolve. So they became the chapters of my book. So literally, once that happened, I just sat down and then wrote the book out. And on the front cover is is a photograph that I had taken, which is of a path. And I love the picture. I wish I had a book to show you of it. Now, the path is very much, it's the road. It comes around, it's autumn leaves, it's a bridge. On the top part is green, on the sides are green, which connects to your heart. The orange and the yellow and the red is about your passion, basically your first three chakras. And then the white is the truth. We don't know what the truth is, but it veered off around because we don't know what the future was. And then above it was an eagle. Now, the eagle in that context was listening to your own intuition. So to me, it's been a wonderful book. It's now in 13 countries around the world. I'm not saying, in big stores and anything, but people who have bought it. And I know it's made a difference in their life, which is good.
That's what you want. That's exactly what you want. All right. So tell me now, the funny thing is after we spoke the first time, we became officially friends on Facebook.
Did we?
And I
didn't realise that. Yeah, I did. Am I joking?
And I realised we used the same deck. This was the first deck I ever bought once I realised that I needed to explore this. Tell me about why you use the Psychic Tarot.
That's an interesting. This was the first, as you said, the first deck that I ever picked up. And I loved it. And I started playing with it. And for those who don't know, it's written by John Holland. And I happened to be at a I Can Do It event in Melbourne, which I think was about 2008, 2009. I can't remember the exact date. And John hadn't spoken at this stage. And if you've ever been to those events, they have their own stand. He was sitting in his own stand and no one was around. So I went up to him and I said, John, I'll use your deck. Tell me how you use them. And he said, just read the book the first time, then put it away. Yeah. Then you look at the numbers, and the numbers mean everything means something. Everything means something. The numbers, the colors, the pictures, the symbols, and you just trust your own intuition on that. And that's exactly what I did. And even today, it's interesting. I've been using these, for over 12 years now. You can still today pick a card for somebody's reading, and all of a sudden you'll see something you've never seen before. I find that fascinating. Yes. But the one thing he said was trust your own intuition. And that's what to me is really important. You're tuning into the individual person that you're there. This is where the NLP comes in. You're watching their body language. You're listening to the words. You're listening to the tonality of their voice. But I'm also trusting where my eyes go, because that to me is where spirit is guiding me to be able to give a message.
That's right. Awesome. So what is your mission and your path through all of this thing called life?
It's a really interesting question, that. I mean, I've had that question put to me a number of times. And I find it really difficult to answer because I thought I knew when I left teaching. To me, I'm always a teacher. Even when I left teaching, I struggled for the next 2 or 3 years, trying, well, who am I now? And it dawned on me probably about 3 years later, I realized I'm always a teacher. It's just my audience has changed. So now my audience are people from all ages right through. And what I feel very called now is to work with men. I see in our society today, so many men are really struggling because society has changed so many ways in terms of what was acceptable for men. And now the change, what's happening on our planet, so many men are lost. So I see a lot more of my work is assisting men to bring a balance of masculine and feminine energy into their own body. And that is a real challenge for men. It's also a challenge for women too, by the way, but that's a whole nother topic we could discuss at another stage. But it's empowering men. I've written a number of articles on that as well, that is now out in circulation. But it's also running programs to empower men to step into their own power and how to use that power in a positive way, not in a negative way. And I feel that's very much about my mission. But the thing that's been interesting, I'm allowing spirit to take me along this journey, because what I think I'm going to be doing today and what I'm going to be doing tomorrow and the next day can completely change. And I've seen that ever since I left teaching in 2012, because doors open, doors closed, another door opened, another door closed. But it was always, I feel, a spiral expansion of me discovering aspects of myself that I never knew.
Awesome. That's awesome. We have a little message for you. There we go.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Tim. Much appreciated, Daryl. Thank you, Daryl. That's cheeky. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Well, if you ask me, I'll explain how that came about too. You're in charge of interviews.
Oh, do tell. I may get into trouble from Daryl later, but that's cool.
That's all right. Well, it was interesting. I ran into, there's a lady who sells crystals. I call her the crystal woman. Her knowledge of crystals is, I've never seen a woman who's so knowledgeable in that field. And this particular day, again, we're talking about synchronicity of events, and you've got to follow your intuition in this. She was heading up to an event, and I'd already rang her about 2 or 3 days before the Friday. Rang her on the Friday, she said, look, I'm sorry I hadn't got back to you, Leon. I said, where are you? She said, I'm traveling up to an event in Deniliquin. Cut a long story short, who's running it? I rang him, which is Daryl, as you saw on that little note. I rang him. He interviewed me over the phone, what I do, what I don't do. And that led to me actually going to that event in Deniliquin. And ever since then, I've done a couple of his events, and one door has led to another, which is the way it is.
That's right.
The way I describe it to some people, you just keep taking steps forward. Some doors will open, some doors won't open. And it's like the programs I did for new teachers. That door, not that it closed, it never opened. It never opened. So you can hit your head against a brick wall until you get to the point that's not supposed to be for me. And the thing is that I feel what Spirit does is make sure you don't get too far off the track about where you're supposed to be. And that's the thing. When you're supposed to be on track, the doors will open for you. And I'm seeing that's happening now where we're up here in Katoomba.
Yes. It's a nice little place in the world.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So tell me, this is something we talked about a little bit yesterday. Was that yesterday? I don't even remember. It's been busy. So we talked briefly about what's happening on this planet in relation to, what's going on at the moment with all the things that are going on. But yeah,
it's a massive question, and
I like this.
It really, really is. It's a big question, but it's also depending on the audience. There are going to be people what I share in a moment are just going to shake their head. There are people who are going to say, "Yep, I understand what you're talking about." And the one thing that I say to people is use your own discernment about the information that you're reading, the information that you're hearing. Television or the main media will give you one slant for whatever the reason may happen to be. One of the gifts that I felt I've had through my leaving teaching, I've had the time to do my own research. And I do a lot of research on YouTube through different books and things. So over the years, I've got a pretty good background about what's happening astrologically, what's happening on the planets. We're seeing at the moment Pluto and Jupiter conjunction. We've come out of the age of Piscean into the age of Aquarius. This is all these massive shifts that's occurring. The old system that we've had, the Piscean age, which was very much, we've seen the pain, we've seen the destruction, we've seen the wars. All those things have been occurring for a long, long time. We've seen the suppression of the feminine. We're now seeing the rise of the feminine. And it's not so much the female, it's the feminine energy into the human race, into the men men connecting to their heart, connecting to passion, connecting to compassion, love, empathy, those qualities that's occurring. So we're going to see at the moment what we're seeing on the planet, and I'm not going to go into this too deeply because it opens up too many Pandora's boxes.
Yes.
But in one context, and I will say this and then just leave it, we're in the middle almost of what I call a spiritual war, the dark and the light. And for those that understand that will know where I'm coming from. And what we're seeing is now for the light to come in and allow the darkness to be revealed. Depending on what you listen to and what you're watching, we're seeing so much has been exposed in America of the dark side. For some of the ones who would have seen it is the abuse of children. That is all coming out now. It's coming into the light. So when you have the dark, we need the light to reveal. So in that way, we are deconstructing what has been so that a new can be formed. And that's what's happening. Our planet, we're going to see so much more of this, particularly over the next about 2026. There's more to come. So if people think we're going back to normal, sorry, I'm to disappoint you. We're not going back to normal. Normal does not exist anymore. People are going to be operating differently. Relationships are going to be different. Work is going to be different. Already we are seeing people who are realizing, I'm not going to go back to work in an office anymore. They are so comfortable staying at home. I feel we're going to see the rentals in commercial business is going to drop down. There's so many changes that are going to occur on our planet and are already occurring. Just hang on for the ride. And the message I really would like to share with people is that you would have heard of the third dimensional world and the fifth dimensional world, 5D, 3D. The 3D world is very much about fear, control, all those things that are occurring. And we're seeing a lot of that in the media, massive fear there. If you can step into the fifth dimensional world, the 5D world, and be an observer coming from compassion and empathy for help for ourselves and for fellow human beings, we are an observer watching what's going on. This is where we see things from a higher perspective, knowing what change is occurring. You chose to be here on this planet at this particular time. I want that to sink in. We chose to have an incarnation now. And part of our role is to bring a higher frequency that comes from our heart, frequency which is about compassion, which is about love, which is about empathy, which is about forgiveness. And in that process, we do the healing within ourselves. And so much of the healing that's occurring now comes out when we put the light on the darkness. And that's what's occurring in so many different levels. I hope that answers your question in a simplistic way.
That's an amazing answer, actually. It clears, for me, it's very clear. Does anyone who's watching, do you guys have any questions? Probably should have said, if you've got questions, put them in.
Yeah, I like questions.
Yeah, so if anyone has any questions, that would be great. I think you're getting a lot of love from some people, though, because I just saw like a mountain of hearts go up.
Well, thank you, because when you're sharing that, what I'm sharing then is obviously what people are wanting to hear.
That's right. People need to hear this at the moment, and it's actually a really big thing.
Well, in that case, I'm going to add a little bit more for you, if I may. What's happened, I feel, on a deeper level is that because we've been put into isolation, for want of a better word, what it's done, it's allowed us to do the inner reflection on our life, to be able to go, is this how I want my life to be? It's like stepping back into your own power. For so long, we have been disempowered by religion, disempowered by governments, disempowered by the health system, disempowered by education, because it's all a programming. What's happening now, it's enabling people to step into their own power and say, well, what do I want my life to look like? What do I now want to be, do? And not buy into the programming that's been, I have to work. No, you don't. Work can be defined in so many different ways. You know, just by walking in nature and saying, having a nice smile for somebody can completely uplift someone. I find when I do the sound healing, am I working? Well, in context, one respect I am. I'm just playing some Tibetan bowls, putting it out there. And if 2 or 3 people love it, like it, I've affected them, I'm doing my work. I'm sharing raising that frequency to a higher level. And this is where I feel the change is occurring. People are going, I'm not going to accept that anymore. I'm not going to go and work and be caught up in a company it's funny, a lady the other day, I remember talking to her, and what she said, she couldn't go back to her work unless she'd had a vaccination. I'm not going to get into all of that. That's a whole other story. And yes. She said, I'm not going to have a vaccination. So what she did, she started her own childcare centre for those that don't want vaccinations. This is where we are starting to determine what the next part of our lives will be. The evolution of this planet, the evolution of humanity is what's occurring now.
Yes. Yes, I agree. We had Marianne said, goosebumps, beautifully said. And then we had Lorraine.
Yeah.
So you have come so far since I first met you at Hall's Gap.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
All right. And I've got a question for coming soon. But Jenna actually asked, Leon, what about the influences around us? Can it also be said a shift has changed in our vibration, and so therefore those around us are also coming in with the new?
I'll answer that for you the way best I can. Great question, by the way, Jenna. I really appreciate it. The thing is as we raise our frequency, you attract different people to you. And the other thing is I feel too is as long as you can look for the synchronicity events, Spirit speaks to me through numbers, through animals, particularly numbers. I mean, I see when I'm driving down the road, a number will come to me on a car, like whether it be 444, 222, 333. My life has all been about threes. I taught for 33 years. I taught in one town for 24 years, a multiple of 3. Everywhere I went in my life, it was a 3-year destination. I see that all the time. I'll wake up and it'll be 3:33. So to me, they're the messages that a spirits are giving to me. Animals, I cannot give you enough examples of where animals have walked into my life, have crossed my path, that give a very, very clear indication. Since we've been up here with my new partner, up here in the Blue Mountains, we have seen animals or birds that just come and be really, really close around us. Even yesterday, the red-tailed black cockatoo, 4 of them came so close to us. Now they're rare, those birds. So again, you understand the message of what they're given. You open to that. Also, connections to the ascended masters, connections to the angelic world. I use obviously different oracle cards that I use. I use Isis. I use Rumi. Love Rumi, by the way. Those people who know me know I do. Konyin is another one. I use all those there to guide, but, and this is the important part about saying a but, you have to trust your own intuition on this and make sure that you are in control and not allowing yourself open to be all the different energies come through. You've got to be in control of your own energy and knowing what decision you make, and it is yours, let alone letting nature give you some messages as well.
Yes.
I hope that answered your question.
I like that a lot. Jenna is also 3s.
Yeah.
Oops, that was the wrong. That's cool. I was coming to that. I always find injured birds that need help.
Yeah.
And then we've got Claire, whose question I was coming back to. She was after a reading, but she sees 11, 11, 333 and 444 all the time.
Yeah.
And so interactive tonight, guys. I love it. I love it. I love it. So our numbers.
Yeah. Go and look up what it means, the 19th. The 19. Sacred Joanna Scribes is the one that I use on YouTube. On the internet. I find, because I stick to the one person all the time, I find that's the one that really gives me a really accurate one. She goes into the different numbers and then she gives an overview of it. She's the one that I really like. If that doesn't come up, I think it's Joanna Scribes. It is. You'll see it on YouTube. On the website. You'll find it. She's great.
Joanna
Scribes. Yes.
Writing it down.
Go for it.
All right. So Claire actually asked if she could have a reading. She was asking if you could see any changes in the near future for her.
When I do readings, what I do is I do a number of things. One, I look at their numerology. One, depending if I'm doing a big coaching session with somebody, I'll look at their North Node, because that also tells me the attributes they're develop and the attributes they're to let go of. So there's a lot more that goes into that. But also I need to tune in, and today I'm not in that space, but that's okay. But yeah, because when I do a reading, this is a different mindset here. I'm focused on you and what I'm doing. So I'm not going to do one over thing. I can do a generic one, but I'm not going to do an individual person.
No, that's okay. That's absolutely okay.
But the thing is, the message that I'm getting a lot with people is just hang in at the moment. Be in that frequency of a higher frequency of love. Don't get caught up into the drama about the media. There's so much more to come out. So when those things come out, there's a lot of talk about in America where so many negative things come out, which is almost like the dark side trying to distract you from what really is going on. It's like the diversion. They'll throw something out at you to take the focus over here and then do something over there. So to me, it's being calm, being aware of that, yes, those feelings may arise within you of frustration. Own them, own it, then let it go. It's not about you can't push it down. No, it's by owning it and saying, yeah, today I'm feeling angry. What am I angry about? I'm angry about this, this, and this. Okay, once it's gone, then it's gone, and you can come back to that higher frequency. But don't try and push it down, because it's only going to cause you more pain anyway. So today you might say, I am angry today. Today I am frustrated,
Yes.
so own that. The other thing is that there's so many energies on the planet at the moment, because we've got all we're in the eclipse period, which are 3 at the moment, and you've also got another 2 later in the year. This is massive energies that's occurring. A lot of the energies are coming through from the sun, and the central sun. All this thing is about upgrading our body, upgrading our DNA. And the people behind the scenes know what's going on, but they don't want that to occur. So to me, we're here to allow this to occur. If you're tired, sleep. If you feel like you don't want to work, well, don't. Because your body is rejuvenating itself. I mean, I felt recently really, really tired, even though I'm getting sleep and I go for my walk through nature where I'm living. If I don't want to work, I don't. But then when I get this surge of energy to go, I'll just run with it. So listen to what your body is trying to tell you.
Definitely. I love this one, Gemma. Gemma says, my son was born on the 15th of the 12th, 13, 50, 35 centimetres, all 3s and 5s.
Yeah. 3 to me is always about ascended masters. Yes, ascended masters. I always love when they come through. 5's about change. 5's about uncertainty, freedom. I notice when I do readings and someone's a 5, I say, you don't like being tied down, and they literally smile straight back at me. It's all about change. It's the adventure. That's what it's about. Then just watch in your life where the 3s come up again, where the 5s come up, and that's where I've always felt, bless you, where my life has always been the 3s, 30, as I explained before. Plus, I'm also born in March. Yeah.
Yes. Irma has also said she's been feeling positive and not playing into the fear.
Yeah, well done.
Which is,
yeah. The thing is, acknowledge where it's coming from, because as soon as you go into fear, we talk about the coronavirus. As soon as we go into fear, your immune system drops. If you turn pardon the expression, the television off and don't buy into that, automatically your frequency rises, because you're not buying into all the negativity that's put out there. So fear is a way of you lose your own control of yourself. Let go of fear and then come back into yourself. Well, where do I want to go from here? But acknowledge it, let it go, back into the next chapter or the next part of your life.
Yeah, that's awesome. I do love the good number chat. I loved math when I was little, hated it through high school, and then we come back to numerology now.
Yeah.
So I see 1111 lots of times, especially when I was seeing my previous partner.
To me, 1 is also very much about your own thoughts. Be aware of what you're thinking, what you're saying to yourself, because the energy that you put in your words is where the NLP comes out. And that's when I'm coaching people, I'm listening to their words, I'm listening to the language. And the 1s, it's keeping that positiveness there. It's the creation of something new. And to me, I know for all of us, and a lot of us who are, I'm going to say this in 2 ways. Those who are spiritual have been expecting changes to occur, and it has been occurring. I also want to add that we all are spiritual beings on our life's journey. We're all spiritual beings on a journey. A lot of people don't understand that. So your life is your spiritual journey, whether you realize it or not. That's what it is. Once you understand it and accept it, your whole view of life and how you see your life and how you view other people in your life that come into your life, you view them very, very differently. And I remember as a teacher, when I really got this, I realized my students, they've got their own journey. They've got their own life lessons. So who am I to judge them for who they are? But the one thing I did learn, I need to put boundaries around how they choose to treat me or how I treat them. They're the boundaries. So we don't allow ourselves to be abused in that context, but understand that they've got their own lessons to learn. And that's what our relationships are about.
That's right.
All our relationships are about growing and evolving. That's why we're here.
Yes.
And last thing, if I may add, don't beat yourself up so much. You're human after all. You're allowed to make mistakes.
the issue of boundaries comes out so often when I'm doing readings at the moment, like especially at the moment. I don't know what's going on right now for a lot of people, but it seems people have forgotten to protect themselves.
Yeah. And when you talk about boundaries, the thing is that you feel it in your third chakra, in your stomach, in your solar plexus, because you feel it when you're giving your power away. And that's where you've got to learn to be able to speak your truth, because very much the third chakra connects to your throat chakra. The two go hand in hand as far as I'm concerned. You have to learn to speak your truth. And the first time I ever did that, wow, I just felt this massive surge of energy coming back into my body. And I remember, I've got to be careful how I express this. I remember for 16 years, I allowed this particular woman, that was a professional woman, basically treat me with disrespect. Now, I don't blame her for that. She was my greatest teacher. She was teaching me because I allowed her to treat me that way, until one day I said no more. And that's when I walked into her office and said what I needed to say. And from that moment on, she treated me very differently. But she was my greatest teacher.
Yes.
Don't be a victim anymore. You have to stand in your personal power. Metaphorically, bring your sword out and say no more. And on a soul level, that's what that woman was in my life for. It took me 16 years to learn the lesson, though.
That's okay. That's another thing that comes out sometimes, is when people go, oh, but I have to do it this way. No, you don't. Every time you make a choice that puts yourself down, you are allowing that to happen again.
Yep.
Build yourself up.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
Speak your truth. Take back your power.
Yeah.
All right. So Marianne wants to know, what is a good house number to live in? So they just sold their house and looking for a new home.
I'm not going to answer that for you. Or, the thing is that, because I don't know what her numerology is anyway, we don't know what her life lessons are. Your house was number 4. So 4 is an interesting question. I'm going to answer it another way for you too. 4 is about structure. 4 is about putting structures around you in terms of a building. So if your soul was 4, so okay, if you've got the structure in your life, where is it going to from here? What do you want to actually create in your next house? What is it that you want to actually, what's the word I'm looking for? What is it that's calling you in here? I remember after my divorce, I moved into a block of units. They were all separate. And it was unit 7, 1010, 1010. Now, to me, that was really important, because 1 is like a new beginning. 0 is infinite possibilities. That was doubled. So to me, this was the next chapter of my life. Now, the fact that she sold 4, is she starting something new? Is she going into a whole new direction of her life? Or is she has stabilized her life and stepping up to the next level? I don't know. I don't know her story. I need to listen to her. But for me, that time was so appropriate, because in 2006, I went property settlement, sale of my business. Dad had passed away. I'd moved house. I'd moved my career and my job to a new, not a new school, but they own 2 campuses. All those things occurred, and I was in unit 7. 7's about openness and trust, trusting spirit and trusting myself. And I stayed there for about 3 years. I loved it, and it really started the next chapter of my life. Then the people sold it, and I didn't want to move from there. And I said to Spirit, come on, I don't want to move from here. Find me another place in this block of units. Sure enough, unit 10 came up. 10/1010. All about preparing me for the next chapter of my life. Yes. So again, the question I put to Marianne is, where are you going? What's happening in your life that you've sold it? Have you sold it because it's an end of a relationship, or you sold it because you feel you need to move?
So she wants to create stability.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So find a place that feels comfortable for you. The numbering is one thing, but you've got to feel into the energy of the place. You walk into the place, you should feel it. Does this feel like home for me? Can I live here? Like when I moved up here to connect with my partner, we were living in the Blue Mountains. We went to 5, 6, 7 different places. We'd walk in the door, I said, no, 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 no. As soon as we walked into the place that I'm living in here now, which is overlooking the Blue Mountains, walked in and I said, this is it. And interesting, before we'd even seen it, I intuitively knew that this was the place. You've got to trust your own intuition. And what I'm going to say to you respectfully, Marianne, is you take control of your life by what you choose to do. Because as soon as you give your power, I'm saying this respectfully to you, when you give the power to me, if I said a number, and I'm not even going to give you a number, then you start looking around the number that I've given you. Trust your own intuition. This is what this period of time is about. It's about empowering ourselves to take control of our life and not put it in the power of somebody else, which is what we've been doing for centuries, where we put it in charge of a doctor or a lawyer or a solicitor or a religious person or a teacher. We have the answer within ourselves, and so do you. You will find that place because you'll walk into it and you go, this is the place. I hope that's helped you.
That's amazing, actually. All right. So Natalie asks, what's some advice to stop being so critical on yourself and stressing constantly?
Okay. So first question I would ask you, why are you critical on yourself? Because what happens is you have an expectation about what you want to be and you can't meet that expectation. As soon as you put an expectation, where's my hand? When you put an expectation up here and you can't meet it, you're going to put stress into your life. Period. Look at the things that you can do on a daily basis and forget the rest. Take one step at a time. For example, when I wrote my first book, and I never believed I could, I just took the notes, put them all down, one step at a time. And the other thing I find is really important, when you go to bed at night time, look at your daily life and go, what did I do what successes did I have today? And list 3 of them. I find I do that on that level, but I also do whose life did I impact today? Who did I see and made feel good? To me, that's building your self-esteem. It's building your self-worth. Because what happens is you're pushing yourself out into the future instead of being present now. When you look to the future, you put yourself in stress. When you look to the past, the past is done. You can't do anything about that. Be present and then enjoy those moments and give yourself gratitude and pat yourself on the back for the good things that are occurring. And I'm going to say it nicely. Stop criticizing yourself, girl. You're human after all. We've shared that before. You know, if you make a mistake, all a mistake is you're not getting the result that you want. So when you don't get the result that you want, what do you need to do differently? What change do you need to make? What do you need to learn? What do you need to do to get the result that you want? And when you make those changes, make sure you pat yourself on the back, metaphorically, because that's building your self-worth. I hope that's helped, Natalie.
Natalie said, love that.
Thank you.
Good and Marianne said, trust. Yes, true. Thank you for your honesty, Leon.
Thanks, Marianne. I'm glad you got it, because at the end of the day, I want you in charge of your life, not me.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And Lorraine says, this is excellent, Leon. Thank you.
Oh.
All right. So Victoria says, my intuition is usually good. When it comes to my current relationship, I'm lost. How do I figure it out?
Victoria, you're putting a good one for me there, aren't you? Okay. In relationship work that I do with people, the first question I put to a person, have you learned all the lessons you need to learn from this relationship? I noticed you've got the word current relationship, which is an interesting word. Because if you haven't learned all the lessons you've had to learn through this relationship, you're bound to repeat them in the next relationship. The relationship that you're in now, whatever is pushing your buttons, you need to reflect it back at yourself. I'll give you an example. This is not a romantic relationship I'm talking about. I was at a seminar where I was working. We had 5 different programs, 5 days in duration. So I was with this particular guy 25 days. I remember this particular time, he was really annoying me. I'm being gentle on my language here. Really annoying me. So I reflected it back to me, and I'm saying, what do I do that he does? Because what I needed to do was look at me. And then one day I got it, and I've gone, what he's doing, I actually do as well. And as soon as I got that, it was done. I ended up having a fantastic relationship with that man. And we had the ability to sit down and discuss that. So the thing that I put to you in terms of your current relationship is, have you learned everything that you needed to learn from that relationship? If it is, and you have, and you feel it's done, well, that's your choice to move on. If you haven't, see, there's 2 parts. Is this relationship dead on the vine, metaphorically? I mean, you're just sitting there because it suits you for whatever the reason may be? Or is it there's still more that you can learn? Because some relationships, and I've done where relationships have ended, and I've done where relationships have got themselves back together, and they're so grateful for that. And what I've done in working to them, I've got them to see one another's strengths and one another's weaknesses. And when they're able to see that and stop fighting against one another and accept one another for who they are, their relationships come back together again. And only you can answer that particular question. That's where I use the North Node of the soul. I find that really powerful when I look at that. And when I read that to someone and they go, "Shit, that's me. And so that's the only thing I would say to you there. Is it finished? Is it done? And if it is, make sure you do it with gratitude. Because if you don't, it'll come back to bite you in the next relationship. Because you don't want to be carrying that baggage with you. You want to be able to say to that relationship, it is done, it is complete. You've learned everything you needed to learn from that, and you say thank you and you move on. Really, really, really important. And if you do choose to move on, don't you dare go into another relationship straight away, because you need to learn to love yourself for who you are. And in that context, when you love for who you are, your frequency rises, and then you meet someone at a higher frequency. Because I've seen so many people go into another relationship almost immediately. They do all the healing work, they change, and the relationship ends because the frequency changes. I hope that's helped, Victoria.
She says thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We've got probably about 10, 15 minutes with you.
Yep.
We've already been going for nearly an hour. So did you want to do a reading for everyone?
Yeah, I will. I'm going to do 2 readings. I'm going to use, obviously, the deck that we've got before. And then I'm going to do a Rumi card. I love Rumi. I went 2 years ago, I was in Turkey and went to where Rumi is buried. And to be able to be in his presence there, I think it was incredible. And I love the way Rumi expresses his words. Okay, we have 3 cards that have fallen out. So let's have a look at them. In no particular order. First card here is called the Shadow. Now, this is a major arcana card. When I see this, and we were actually talking about this earlier in the interview, or in the interview, we're saying we've got to go deep within ourselves and look at the things that we have pushed down. As I shared with you earlier, it's like the scuba diver. We bring the things that we don't want to own. All of us have aspects of our life that we don't like. We don't share that with everybody. But it's bringing it up and owning it. And what happens is when we bring that into the light, which is the yellow over here, the blue is the deep. If you've got the card, put it up for me. The blue is the deep communication with yourself. It's like the moon. It's going within to you to find out what it is that you need to bring to the surface. Someone else, a couple of other people have brought that question up. It's like, what do I need to own? What do I need to bring to the surface? So when it pops, it's like what I did with that guy. You know, it was really annoying me, and all of a sudden I got it. I brought it out into the light. Metaphorically, it popped, and I was able to have a relationship with him. Thank you. And you'll also notice, for those who are watching it, you'll see the circle of the blue. The blue is the deep communication, and then we'll see the baton is passed into the light. Now, on the guy in the blue, you'll notice that the hat is a greyish colour. White represents truth. The greyish part is you're not too sure of the full truth because you haven't gone and dug deep enough to find it. But you'll notice the person on the right, which is all in the yellow, it's the light. His hat is very white, meaning he's owned the truth of who he is. And the baton, gold, is the enlightenment that the person has got from that, and then it passes it to him. 8 and 1 is 9. 9 is an end of a cycle. So to me here, this is you owning the aspect of yourself that you've pushed down for so long. It needs to come to the surface and it needs to be let go. Now, you can put the card down, Leon. Now, what's happening on the planet at the moment is the shadow of humanity is being brought to the surface everywhere around the world. We see that for the world to move on individually and collectively, we need to bring the shadow out. So when it comes out and we could sit here and say, oh, isn't that awful? Isn't that nasty or whatever? Yes, that's true. But see the bigger picture of it. Once that comes to the light, we're then able to move forward and create something new. The next card is the heart chakra. What have I been sharing all along? At the start, we have to come from our heart. We have to come from compassion. We have to come with empathy. It's forgiveness. When we come from our heart, we have a much higher frequency. In terms of the chakra systems, the heart is the separation between the 3 below, which is the physical world, and the 3 above, which is the spiritual world. Everything resonates from our heart. The hardest journey you'll ever make is going from your mind into your heart, because your heart, and like the lady who asked about her house, trust your intuition that comes from your heart, because that's where the answer comes from. And the last card is a mental card. I absolutely love this card. Can you hold that card up too, please, and then I'll explain it when you find it. I know you're working on it. 6, I'll go through the number. First of all, the number 6. 6 is about harmony. It comes after number 5, which is obvious. 5 is about change. 5 is uncertainty. 5 is about challenges. So you've worked through mentally and what's happening on our planet. So many people are in their head trying to work out what's going on in the planet, where are they going to be working if they haven't got a job. Everything is mental that they're going through here. So this one here, 6, this person, when we see it, you'll find it. You'll know. Yeah, okay. Now, you'll notice there's a pillar. The pillar is the separation between the past and to the future. If we look in the past, you'll see the brown leaves. The brown autumn leaves represents the past. It's autumn. It's what that season was, what we learned through those experiences. But that part of life is done. You'll notice the person is walking with his right foot forward. So right is the masculine side. It's the physical side. He's moving forward. He has the purplish cape on him, which is all the wisdom that he's gained from this experience. You'll notice his face. He's got hair off his face. There is no emotional expression on his face. It's looking forward. He's not caught up in all the emotion of what the past was. In his left hand is the spiritual side. It's also the feminine. He has a staff. Staff represents, again, the wisdom that the person has gained from this experience. And as he moves into the future, we'll notice they're a lime green. Now, as a person who came off a farm, any lime green to me is like when you plant your seeds into the ground for what you want. And the first seeds come out of the ground for a crop is this beautiful lime green. So to me, this is what this is about. You'll also notice there's a yellowish color there and there's a white. Whitish is representing the truth of what you are, and yellow is the enlightenment that you're getting from it. So you're leaving the past behind and you're moving forward. So thanks. I'll put the card down, mate. That. So what we're seeing here is the shadow going deep within. What do we need to own? So if you're looking at your relationships, if you're looking from work, if you're looking what's happening on the planet, what is the shadow that's coming out not only for you individually, but also collectively for the planet? Make sure you connect to your heart with all of this. Hold compassion in your heart for those people who are struggling, that are worse than what you are, where you're at, because there are a lot of people who are really struggling. The thing is, by you doing that, you're raising your frequency in that context. And then, and I'm talking about moving on, if we talk about this as past, present, and the future, moving on, we've got a lot more to happen yet. So just be aware of the changes that occur, and you'll see it. Be aware of it. But don't get caught up into the fear. Get caught up into, this is about the evolution of humanity, and it's the evolution of you as a person. You chose to be here now. I hope that's helped.
That was awesome.
Can I do a Rumi card?
Yes, please. You have to ask.
For those that don't know Rumi, Rumi is a 12th century Sufi mystic. He used to do a lot of preaching, talking, and everything else to audience of people. Then he ran into a guy by the name of Shams. And from that moment on, he had this incredible relationship with Shams. His cards flew out. I'll put this down. I'll finish telling the story about Shams. And he had this incredible relationship with Shams. We don't know whether it was homosexual or whether it was just a beautiful relationship. But Shams ended up leaving. We don't know whether he left of his own accord or was murdered. But after that, all Rumi's poetry was connecting to the beloved. And the beloved who he wrote was about Shams. He had this incredible relationship. So Rumi's poetry is all about the connection between the beloved and you. And I absolutely love reading Rumi. So here we go. The first part is Rumi's poem. The second part is the interpretation that's been channeled through him. This comes from Alana Fairchild's work. I use a lot of her work. And then I will go through the book where her explanation is, and whatever comes to me that I feel I need to read, I will read. So I'm just looking for my glasses. So it's called number 37, Sacred Soul Sister.
Awesome.
Now, I think that's really interesting of what's happening on the planet at the moment. We're bringing in the feminine. And as I said to you right at the start, it's not the female, it's the qualities of the feminine, the archetypes of the feminine matching up with the archetypes of the masculine. So it works both ways. Okay. When you are conscious, a cloud of sadness surrounds you. When you are beyond consciousness, the moon rests in your arms. When you are conscious, the beloved moves out of your reach. When you are beyond consciousness, the ecstasy of love moves your way. When you are conscious, you are depressed like fall, which is autumn. When you are beyond consciousness, the winter cold feels like spring. All your wavering is due to your longing to be stable. Look for instability until you become stable. And the channeling message: I love you. I am your other self. I am with you always, your partner on this soul journey. I am the you that you do not see. I am the you that speaks through intuition and instinct. I whisper and sing and shout my crazed truth-telling to you through your dreams, through your body. I am the you that is wise, that trusts in life, that knows. I am the you that sees reality rather than appearances. I am the you that knows how to be happy and free. Your sacred soul sister is your partner in consciousness. Make no mistake, she is you. She is just a part of you so great you cannot always see her from your conscious mind. It's sort of like the eye of the dog trying to see its whole self, but a bit tricky, for as she moves to see its rear, so the rear is moved along too. So rather than direct perception, the sacred soul sister is met through reflection. To tap into her wisdom, to distill a teaching from the fragmented memory of a dream, or a subtle feeling expressed in meditation requires you to walk with her gait and not the fast-paced, forward-moving canter of your conscious and intellectual mind. This oracle comes with a particular guidance. You know something deep in your bones without knowing how or why or without a particular reason. You just know. It doesn't make sense. You just know. It may be joy that you know. It may be that you know to avoid a certain situation. It may be that something is going to work out beautifully, despite appearances to the contrary, at a particular moment. It may be that you are meant to take a certain path. You just know. This oracle also comes as confirmation that your knowing, mysterious as it is your sacred soul sister talking through you. Trust it and act, or not, accordingly. Thank you, Rumi.
I can see why you like Rumi. Rumi's cool.
It's wonderful. I'll tell a brief little bit on that and then we'll finish, I suppose, is that whenever I used to read, I'd always read the information first, before, particularly in public. The day I picked up a Rumi book, it just flowed. I never had to read it again. The words, the nuances, the phrasing, it just flowed. And I just feel Rumi's with me as I do my stuff. So I thank him for what he shared with us today, because I think that message is very, very clear for the people that as I'm reading it, I'm thinking of the girls, about their house and about their work and where they're going, the relationship. All that is there. So just trust yourself in your own guidance.
Definitely. So Naz says, beautiful, thank you.
Thanks, Naz.
We only had one other question, which I didn't get to, and it was just Wendy asking how she can improve motivation and fitness and energy, because she's always so exhausted and lacking initiative.
Okay. I can answer that for her very quickly for her. First of all, can you put the question back up there for me, please? That's okay. First of all, motivation. Motivation doesn't work. It needs to be inspiration. It needs to come from you within your own heart. Because I can say to you, if you don't actually do that, I'm going to charge you $100. If you do that, I'll give you $100. That's motivation. It doesn't work. It'll do it for a short space of time, but it won't last. You need to have a reason for why you do what you do, whether it be fitness or energy. The first thing I would also say to you is even if you just get out, and I don't know where you live, but just get out and walk for 5 minutes today. You just get out and you walk. Just walk around the block and then give yourself a pat on the back. The next day, go and walk around a bigger block. Give yourself a pat on the back. So and actually start talking to your body. Thank your body for what it's doing. I walked the Camino a couple of years ago, and every morning when I was walking, I thanked my whole body. I talked to my muscles, the skeleton, my eyes, the muscles, the heart, all the aspects of my body. I thanked it for what it was doing to me. So I spoke to my body, and it's amazing how that responds. So talk to your body one step at a time. And when you do it, give yourself a little pat on the back and reward. And if you are exhausted, okay, go to bed, get some sleep, because at the moment too, it could be another reason, because so many energies is coming through on the planet at the moment. So you need to work that out, what it is. Is it, and that was why I said my first question is, why do you want to do what you do? Because that's the driving force, not someone telling you you've got to do that. I hope that's answered your question.
Yes. Naz Elizabeth says also that she did have a question if there's time. Otherwise, she can contact privately for a read. Can she contact privately for a read?
Yeah.
How do we contact you? Do you want them to go through?
I'll give you my email address. Leon Beaton, LeonBeaton 555 @gmail.com. I'll let you type that up anyway.
I did.
I know you did. That's why I went slowly for you.
I type pretty quickly.
You're very efficient.
My block is 10 kilometres. 15 kilometres might be up the road. instead.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you're out on the farm. Well, you're out. Ask her. Is she out on the farm somewhere?
You can
I
ask her.
assume she's out on the farm. Just walk for 5 minutes one way, turn around and walk 5 minutes back. That's a 10-minute walk.
Yep, done.
That's it. It's just starting step by step. I'll give you an example. I broke my leg playing football, and I wanted to. What was I going? I was doing another program at the end of that year. So the first time I took the plaster off, I literally hobbled around an oval. So painful, but I got round it. The next day, do it again. Next day, do it again. Next day, do it again until it became easier. But I had a reason for doing it. You've got to find the reason for why you're doing it. Otherwise, you won't.
Yeah. I had a massive knee injury from teaching, actually. And it took me 5 years and 5 physios to find one who knew what the problem is and knew how to treat it. And one day I was really struggling at the physio on the exercise bike doing my program.
Yeah.
And this lady in a wheelchair stopped right in front of me and went, I wish I could do that again. And I just went, oh.
Yes.
That's right. Yes, I get it now. So, yeah.
And Wendy, when I was talking to you, my eyes went to the live time. It was 105.55, which is all about change, as I've already shared with you. Challenge. Yep, you're doing a farm. And there's probably many other issues in relation to that as well, as a person coming off a farm. Go for a walk every day. It also will clear your head. Give gratitude for what it is. Look at if they've got any animals or trees, you might find that this might sound weird, but just trust me on this. You might find a tree that you actually like, that connects with you. Go and put your back against the tree. Sit on the roots. Breathe in from above. Breathe through your body, down into the Mother Earth. Bring up through Mother Earth, up through your body, out into the heavens, for want of a better word. Just allow the nature to heal you. Really powerful. And once you start, you won't stop, because you know the benefit that you're getting from it.
That's exactly right. All right, Naz, I think we may have run out of time, actually, and I apologise for that.
Okay.
I think the question, I can't even find the question. Oh, okay. It was a really broad question, actually. Should I take the plunge? Will it work out the way I'm planning?
I'll answer that in one quick word. We all go into plan. I left teaching with what I thought I'd be doing for program for new teachers. That path did not play out, but it's taken me on a journey since 2012 that I could never, ever have written, seriously. And I haven't shared anything about my journey since 2012. But I wouldn't take it back for any. If someone had said to me then that this is what your life would be, I would have laughed at them. The places that I went, the people that I met, and the experiences I had by writing my first book was incredible. Take the plunge. If you actually look at my Facebook page and you have a look at what I put on Facebook today about the plunge, and you'll see it's a photograph I've taken of a tree, little lines all over it, you'll understand that. And I will say to you this, if I was talking to you in 3 years' time and you don't do anything different from where you are now, what would you be saying to me? I think you already know the answer to that. This is where trust comes in. Trusting yourself and trusting spirit that the right parts will come. Don't buy into fear. Buy into that the right doors will open for you along the way. I hope that's helped. And that's the part of what I do in terms of helping people, doing a reading for people. I can do that and help them put steps in place to be able to do that.
Yes, that's the other reason I started doing the life coaching studies.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. And thank you, Leon, for joining me. It has been an absolutely amazing night. I'm very much appreciative of your time.
And I thank you for inviting me, because it's been wonderful. And this is the first one I've ever done like this. So thank you. I really appreciate it. And thank you for those people that tuned in and were listening. Really appreciate the feedback that you've given and what you've shared. And I hope in some way or other you take this one aspect that helps change your life. And if that's the case, this has been well worth every bit of it. Thank you very much.
You just really cemented what She needed to know I'm beginning my journey of NLP and spiritual guidance.
Yeah. I
Yes.
started mine in 2007, and it's been an incredible journey ever since when I started NLP. Go for it.
Yes,
Look
you've got
forward
this.
look forward to seeing where it takes you.
Yes. All right, guys, thank you so much. I am back tomorrow night with Catherine Porter from The Face Spirit with Healing with the Fairies. So join me again at 8:30 p.m. tomorrow night, and I will see you all then. Good night.